And we're back live. Yeah, Harrowing's tilling up the service.
Calls. A consoles I had to see.
And we're walking. Oh, dampness on the ground here. Somebody's watering, apparently, the plantings. All the rain we've had. It's hardly necessary, but okay. And left foot in front of right foot. Cradle to grave. Dawn to dusk and back again. Still in the game. So this episode is my noontime walk. Not quite. It's 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Washington, D.C.'s location. S Street Northwest, to be precise. The 2100 block. Passing this Washington Studio School, where classes for all levels of drawing, painting, printing, and sculpture are taught to those people who want to take the time to employ their services, their creative endeavors. You can all learn from each other. Community is what it's all about. Check out the morning glories there. My gosh, white ones in profusion. I don't know if there's a growing deliberately or as a weed, but we're walking on and taking in the passing show. You can see a lot of home improvements going on, apparently at Freedom Place. I hope that building's getting all run down looking. Folks there, plenty of equipment, it looks like. So we keep walking. I've eaten a little rice and beans, took my Beano, and I'm needing to walk it off. Has cheese with it, I like to put cheddar in it with the basmati rice and organic red kidney beans. And I think I had some black beans in it too, come to think of it. Yeah, good mix. A little chili powder, a little chipotle powder, a few drops of Tabasco, fiery stuff. Not too fiery, though. Kind of tame. To most people's palates, probably. Definitely not Ukrainian, though. My wife is not fond of spicy, being of Ukrainian descent. The food is largely beige. A lot of potatoes. Oh, my goodness. So, I'm digesting. That's what my voice is like it is. Drank a lot of water. It's warm out. Not as warm as it's been, though, so I'm taking advantage of that. We're passing by the Laotian embassy, the residence of the Laotian ambassador, and by the Anthony Holmead site. Old farmhouse used to be, built in 1795, but demolished in the 1920s, raised by the German government who owned the property at the time. Old park, blooming trees. Daylilies are pretty much done, iris are done, but it's got beautiful purple iris along here in the spring. I'm going to kind of keep on moving. Mitchell Park has films in the fields. I don't need to come down for that. I like to walk sort of isolated so I can talk to you guys who decided to have a look at the live broadcast. Been thinking a lot this morning about Wings of Desire and characters there and, sharing a little bit of the documentaries around its making and how the cast and crew went through a lot of different creative processes to come up with that 1987 film. It led to a sequel, Far Away So Close, in which Cassio, the companion of Damiel, also transitions from being an angel to being a human. Not for the same reasons, but similar. Damiel is conscious of what he's doing and the sacrifice he's making makes it consciously. Cassio just more immediate. His transition. I won't go into the details. Don't want to spoil the movies. But they are so good. And the openings, of course, they're observers. Don't participate, don't interfere, but just recorders and observers, watchers. And they're present. And they could potentially reach out and connect to someone, but they don't. They don't interfere. I like to try to keep the dead alive. So see that because just about all the cast are dead now. Well, we're here and we can appreciate the art. Somebody's decided to try to cancel our good fella here. Let's see if we have it still the message. Yeah, this is Joel Barlow. Somebody scratched on his face there. That's too bad. Maybe they'll repair it. This is the Callbox Restoration Project. Apparently, they've recently redone them. Joel Barlow, though, lived 1754 to 1812, served in the American Revolution, and was a businessman, diplomat, and published poet. In 1796 to 7, he negotiated the release of Americans held for years by the Turkish regent of Algiers. And Thomas Jefferson urged Barlow to settle in Washington, and in 1807 he bought a house located at what is now 23rd and S Streets. That's where we're standing, naming it Colorama. Beautiful view. In 1812, Barlow went to meet Napoleon at the emperor's headquarters in Lithuania to complete a treaty of commerce. Finding the French in retreat, he followed them to a village near Krakow, where he died of pneumonia on Christmas and was buried in an unmarked churchyard grave. Joseph McKenna and Sandra Day O'Connor, the first female justice of the Supreme Court. But I don't know why that's there. Why that mentions that. Strange. But this is the artist is Charles Wilson Peale, 1741 to 1827, U.S. Department of State, and somebody has decided to scratch it. But think of that. Man's in an unmarked grave near Krakow in Poland. Died of pneumonia. And, it's just tragic that happened, but he had a house here at Colorama, settled here in Washington, D.C. at Jefferson's recommendation after negotiating the freedom of hostages who'd been held for years in Algiers. Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing life. And negotiating with Napoleon as Napoleon's on retreat from Lithuania down into Krakow. Lots of people living lots of different lives, lots of sacrifices made for what we are experiencing here and now. We should take personal responsibility for the history that's been entrusted to us. I was sharing a little bit ago the clip from 1776 and 1972 film about the penning of the Declaration of Independence and how that came about. William Daniels, who I believe is still with us, plays John Adams. And I was reflecting how my mother wanted to call me Harold Jonathan Gill instead of Harold Bledsoe Gill III, which I am. My father got an opportunity to name me against her desires. Perhaps I expected he probably would have won her over anyway. And he wanted to please his own father, both of whom, Harold Bledsoe Gill Sr. and Harold Bledsoe Gill Jr., sharing the birthday of January 16th. Harold Gill Sr., 1907. Harold Gill Jr., 1933. Me, I missed it. February 4th, 1963. Oh, I said January 16th, 1933 for my father. Anyhow, that date, January 16th, 1933, there was another birth. Susan Sontag. Susan Sontag and my father were the exact same age. Thank you. Appreciate it. Big recycling truck letting me go. God bless her. And the truck she rode in on. That's huge. Onwards Not sure what the beeping's about. Oh, gosh. Backing into the alleyway. Man, what driving. I wouldn't want to have to do it. Embassy of Zambia, I think. Beautiful architecture. I don't even know what to call that. Beaux-Arts, I guess. I'm being observed by a mockingbird. Hey, mockingbird. What you up to? I'm sort of lined up against the coat of arms, almost. I love mockingbirds. Well, wait a second. Maybe he's not a mockingbird. Are you a mockingbird or aren't you? It's fussing at me. There he is. Maybe a shrike. He was burrowing at me. Huh? Come on. What do you think, bird? What do you think of the architecture, folks? Talk to me. If you're watching, if you care. What were we on to? Susan Sontag? It's a volcano lover. A novel about Hamilton, whose wife, Emma Hamilton, had a notorious affair. That Hamilton woman. Vivian Leigh played her in the movie. And yeah, Emma Hamilton, who was a dancer and a prized possession, basically, of Sir William Hamilton, the volcano lover that forms the central character of Susan Sontag's novel of the same name, The Volcano Lover. Down in Naples during the time in which it was the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Fact check me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all good. Keep on walking. Yeah, so Emma Hamilton, had this notorious relationship and a child, Horatio, with Horatio Nelson, the hero of Trafalgar, naval hero. And I think I was thinking about naval heroes because I was talking about 1776 and John Adams, and Richard Henry Lee rides up in the scene, the little clip I threw up there onto Substack. But the thought that my mother used to call me Johnny, as he rides up, he says, our cause for independence for the colonies has come to a complete standstill, Franklin mentions. And he says, do you have any idea why that is? He says, simple. Johnny here is obnoxious and disliked. So identify with John Adams' character there, because just about any group I go into, I end up seeing the vision of what this country can be, what we can be collectively, what this world can be. And using everything in my body to try to convince others to step in line. They all basically don't want any part of it. And I'm more concerned about whether they should open the windows and let fresh air in, or whether they should keep the windows closed, keep the flies out. And that's how it opens up, right? Thank your lucky stars you have John Adams to abuse before, because no sane man would tolerate it. There's a lot of truth in that. I have been the target of derision, and perhaps well earned, I don't know. But, we could treat each other with respect. It isn't necessary to be derisive. Look at these fungus growing out of that tree. Wow. Think about fungus. Think about the interrelation of all things, including that mushroom. And think about our own history. This is Ukraine House. I want you to just look at this and think about it. I have an exhibit called The Woven Spirit of Ukraine. It's just come down. But look at that. A sliding board riddled with shell fragments. Think about what that represents. Think about tomato plants. Think about anything in this world and how lucky we are to be here and to be anywhere. And how are we behaving ourselves? We have better manners than to shell playgrounds. Don't we have better manners than to generate conditions in which such things would happen? Remember, I was talking about the hostages in Algiers. Guess where we are? We're by the Chancery of Algeria. Now, I have a very dear friend from Algeria. I don't know where she is right now. I hope she's well. We were a couple briefly after I moved back from Denmark and really love her. I have loved her. And that has not gone away. That was not our problem. Other things conspired, including her desire to break up with me, my acquiescence to that because I wasn't moving anyway. I didn't know it at the time, but soon after I did. And it wasn't tenable. But I have done what I can with what I have to try to support her children in a way. My heart bleeds for them in some ways because it's rough out there, you know? It's rough for everybody. Everybody is having to struggle and do the best they can with what they have. And I've been damn lucky. I was born in this country. I was not born in Algeria as she was during the Civil War. And not just Civil War, but a war of independence from France. Her family settled in France. And they probably had to, but being Algerian, I don't think they were taken to be French so much, but I had the opportunity to entertain them here in DC not too long ago. I didn't even know they were coming into town, but I found out. And when they did arrive, I was able to take them out to dinner at Alero. It was in the sole location on Connecticut Avenue. It's down the block a ways now. And then we walking thing, and it rained on us at the end. But, you know, it was a lot of fun. And I had a chance to play tour guide like I'm doing now with you guys. We're coming up on the Taft Bridge. This bridge was built about the time my grandfathers were born. It was down in North Carolina and up in Orange, Virginia. And it's the Taft Bridge, completed 1906, year my North Carolina grandfather's born. And it's named after William Howard Taft. And you got to keep your eyes wide open because you never know who you might see across the way. Very colorful individual. I can be colorful myself. I'm wearing my King Crimson Music is Our Friend t-shirt today. That's just from the 2021 tour, which I thought was probably the last manifestation of Crimson, but I'm not so sure. Okay, I've got a little Robert Fripp for you today. He posted on Facebook, and I fed it into Grok, then posted it back into my comments on a push of his commentary. He was responding to somebody named something Mouse? I forget. But anyway, a lot of fun. Lots of fun to play with Grok 4 and have it do analysis on Robert Fripp. Look at that beetle. I don't know what kind of beetle that is. I wonder if it's an invasive species. I've seen a fair amount of them around, particularly on trees of paradise, invasive species. Grow quite rapidly. You see the Rock Creek is full of water. You had a lot of rain, so it's very muddy. It's carrying a lot of sediment downstream. And as we walk across Rock Creek Park, you see the oxygen producing deciduous forest, such as it is. While looking around me, trying not to be heard by passersby, but I want you all to know what I'm thinking and doing. And having fun, you know, still breathing, trying to walk it off. Got a jet going up out of National there. I don't know where they're heading offhand, but I could look it up. I have an app on my phone for that. And, you know, Lots of people moving if they ain't already there. Everybody's got to be somewhere. I'm paraphrasing Bob Dylan's Mississippi, I think there. Only one thing I did wrong, stay in Mississippi way too long. Anyway, it's all good. Thought I had something to do today, and I can't remember what it is, so I'm just doing what I'm doing. I looked at my calendar, nothing's there, and said, did I think I had something on Monday that I needed to take care of? Go figure. Cognitive decline. My mother's in it now, undeniably. Look at that. Another jet going out. We're so temporary. We're such blips on the geological scale, and yet we're able to do so much. Check out that fly. Hopefully not a biting variety, but I'm going to let it live. I kind of like to be Buddhist about things. That's maybe it's a pretension because I eat anything. Well, I ate some dairy product today. Didn't eat any animal flesh. I know. Let's see. I had a almond croissant. Fed some of it to the pigeons and the sparrows who were my company alongside a couple of human beings. Manuel, he spent 4 years in Vietnam as a soldier for the United States of America. And messed him up. Messed up a lot of people. First bass drummer of the Fife and Drum Corps in Colonial Williamsburg lost his life over there in August 1968. Radio man, I understand, for a Green Beret outfit, maybe. And ambush. Never had a chance. Talmadge H. Altman Jr., first bass drummer in the history of the Colonial Williamsburg Pipe and Drum, where I got my teeth as well. 11 years old, I joined as a recruit, September 1974. It's 50 years ago last September. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. I care. What have we got? There goes that jet out of National. Another one will be popping up pretty soon. And heading off. If you're in the air, you're one of probably 10 to 20 million people airborne. At any given moment around the world, there are about 10 to 20 million people airborne. I had one of the AIs do the analysis for me. I don't know. It could be more, it could be less. It's something to think about, especially in the context of Wings of Desire, that 1987 film known as Himmel über Berlin. Oh, check that out. Another one of those Beatles. What did I want to say about that? The perspective you get from up there, the way the angels just watch. You can't really do anything about anything going on the ground. The angels in Wings of Desire can hear our thoughts and they listen in. We're not alone. We are not alone with our thoughts. All of you all, my guests on the passing show, are listening into my thoughts. You can express yourselves if you wish. I can't really see the comments because of the brightness, but I can see that there are people out there, or have been. I expect people to come in and going. Pick in. This live streams this live streams that. What's going to be happening next? Well, I don't even know that. This is cinema verite. Life as it happens. It is journalism. It is who, what, when, and where being soaked up into my filter, the lens of this iPhone, and transmitted back out to you all in its unvarnished state. And in being unvarnished, it is also primary documentation for agents of the future. It could be human, it could be AI, it could be any kind of fodder you want. But we are on the verge of some spectacular developments. And whether that's spectacular in a good way or spectacular in a apocalyptic way, who's the judge? There's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So says Shakespeare. Okay, let's see what we have here. Grapevines, wild foliage, shelters. It's kind of a cool one there. I think that's used sometimes by various folks for all kinds of stuff. And then just walk. Just walk. You just keep on walking. Watch out for joggers. I think I can go this way. Whoops, no, I can't. Just went red ant. On meth. I'm stuck here for a bit. And I'll have to make a choice. This is my choice. Chipotle over there I don't go to anymore, but we had Chipotle last night, yesterday, Len and I, over in Columbia, Maryland. Columbia, Maryland. Birthplace, I think, at least place where Michael Chabon, my favorite writers, was born. He ended up studying at the University of Pittsburgh under Chuck Kinder, among others. And Chuck and I became friends after Chuck delivered a eulogy for my friend Buddy, who came after Chabon graduated, like a year after, to Pittsburgh. He was 45, Buddy was, when he arrived. He was asked by Chuck, as Chuck was telling his memorial service, at Buddy's memorial service, he was asked if he thought that creative writing could be taught. And he said, hell yeah, I'm just got to do it. I paraphrase, I'm sure. Chuck probably paraphrased it. Just a fellow that can do it, too. And he did.
Really jumped it.
He used his own example. He used his own experience. He had been raised down in Itabena, Mississippi, Buddy had. And during his childhood, he had a stepfather and his mother. And he made up parts of his memoirs. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. You don't know what's fictional and what's not. I'm sure emotionally it was there. And well, the way it worked out is that he happened to be a teenager at the same time that Emmett Till was a teen, with a wolf whistled a white woman ill-advisedly on a visit down to his cousins or something. And he was brutally murdered. And his example became a civil rights kind of icon, if you will. Well, Buddy had processed that because he knew the murderers. He was in the white society. And he didn't think what had happened to that boy was right. And apparently there was another white boy, didn't either. People were talking about it in the locker room or something. As one white boy said, I'm with the colored boy. I don't think that was right. And that guy stood out as a hero, Buddy. Buddy later told the story of how he contacted that man later in life and said, do you remember when you did this? And the guy didn't. But it had made such an impact on Buddy. And it's like, okay, it's nice hearing from you. Glad you're doing well. And it was like shocking. Something was so seminal in Buddy's experience. So this guy had said, taking the part of the colored boy, Emmett Till, in a locker room full of white boys. Because, of course, these are the days of segregation. We're not talking about modern worlds here where you have mixed races in the rooms. They did not do that down in Itabena, Mississippi. When Marion Barry was coming up as a youth, at the same time, in the same area, is not that way. Which is kind of interesting, right? The mayor for life of D.C. and creative writing professor at Pitt writes the story Wolf Whistle. Yeah, it's just like, it's enriching, it's engrossing to me that those things are woven together. B.B. King's from that area too. But I digress because I'm talking about how we're all brothers and sisters, how we all have the same architecture for vertebrates, fish on up. Shay Venner and I were talking about her awareness of not wanting a fish to be hurt when her father taught her how to fish. Anyway, you get the point. And should be more conscious, more mindful, more aware of our actions and how they can impact each other. And the fact that we're not tends to put me in a mode where I use my voice in ways that people might find obnoxious and they might dislike me. Like John Adams in 1776, obnoxious and disliked. Did you know that? Yeah, I hadn't heard. There's a scene on the stairs and they're deciding who's going to write the Declaration of Independence. And John is not going to do it himself. He says, if I'm the one to do it, don't run the quill pens through it. I'm obnoxious and disliked. Did you know that? In any case, that's the way it goes. They couldn't get Livingston to do it. They couldn't get, oh gosh, what's the cobbler from Connecticut? It's not coming back to me just yet. He couldn't write. So it was Jefferson who wrote it. And then they edited it. And the editing process is what really makes a film. You see the characters, the type of compromises that have to be made. Yeah. Compromise. Art compromise. Let me go down here. This is a tunneling expedition. I'm probably going to walk by the new residence of Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, he's bought a place on 30th Street up here. And not sure exactly how I'm going to get there. These streets kind of wind over behind the Omni Showroom Hotel. And on the back side of that, as you can probably see, there's rooms with balconies. And over here, the Embassy of Lebanon, or the ambassador's residence thereof, I'm not sure which. Well, that's the embassy. Chancery, Lebanon. Khalil Gibran, a nice monument to him. I'm going to trespass on Lebanese territory to read this. 1883 to 1931. I am a youth, a young tree whose roots were plucked from the hills of Lebanon, yet I am deeply rooted here, and I would be fruitful. The monument was dedicated by Ambassador Antoine Shadid, ambassador of Lebanon to the U.S., donated by the Khalil Gibran Centennial Foundation, October 9th, 2014. Okay, so let's move on. Khalil Gibran, 17 at 1900, 31, he ended up dying at 48 years old. Cirrhosis. He was told he shouldn't drink, but he did. And The Prophet was one of the books you could find in the little second story break room where we had a little refrigerator and the Getty Foundry. I'm sure Doc Hassel had probably put it there and was reading The Prophet. And I was reading it up there too, different points. Not sure it really sank in. We had a reading from The Prophet at our wedding, Lynn and I did, as well as one from Colossians that dealt with forgiveness, simply because I knew I'd need a lot of forgiveness. And that's been a real hallmark of our marriage. I can do better. It's always, we can try harder. We can be more grateful for each other being in our lives. And she said, I love you so much last night, and I was thinking, wow, how about that? He loves me. Said anyone loves me. That we can love each other. We can extend that, Mr. Rogers method, I call it. I like you just the way you are. Love and affection can really transform people's lives if we let it. It's enough to make you crazy if you let it. That's 9 to 5, by the way. I'm not working 9 to 5. Haven't been since August 2nd of 2024 when I was suddenly and without any warning let go. I had heard in April that there were some government folks who thought negatively about me, and I said, I don't know what I did to earn that. I haven't had any interaction with those people in a while. Delegated off, and my junior staff members I thought were doing a great job of supporting them, and I support them in the shadow. Yeah, because I knew that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I can tell. I can read people. But this doesn't matter. The idea was that I was accused, and we'll explain that in a minute.
Yeah, hi. I am trying to report someone for.
Oh, dear. So my broken neck was banned. Oh, that's terrible. So, does look like somebody smashed the back window of it. Man, it just should not violate other people's property if we can avoid it. And I guess if you want to do root cause analysis, if you don't have property, anyway, we do, and that's not right, in my view. To illegally damage somebody else's stuff and not leave a note where they can be reached and say, hey, sorry, I damaged your thing. And it looks like this guy's van, somebody actually broke into it and stole some stuff. It's a work van. Okay, where was I? God. Oh, yeah. I remember. The accusation was by one of my own, a guy I had actually rehired after he had quit. Be careful, this guy. I won't name him. But he said that I'd been bullying and disrespectful. And there was another word, some other negative, but it wasn't like a specific instance that he could point to. It was just that he got this vibe that I was overbearing. That's the other one. Overbearing, disrespectful, and had been bullying. I'd been requesting that these guys follow our group, quality process. Yes. But other than that, no. And when he didn't do it, I didn't do anything but point out, okay, I'll have somebody else do it. And I got it done. And, I showed that, hey, this is how it should be done. And that's all I was asking for. Not like a big deal. But, that's the way it goes. That's an interesting trail. I don't think I have the guts to go into it, though. It's too buggy. Too buggy. So I'm at Woodland Drive and Rock Creek Drive. I think I'm going to take Woodland up. I'm walking through, as I said, areas that, a lot of folks don't see. So I'm taking you on a little tour. We went by the Embassy of Lebanon just a few minutes ago. That's a really nice building there. The architecture is really interesting. I can't really see it well through the trees. This one is a big red flag, some sort of symbol on it. What is it? Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Doing some work there. I don't know what that is. There's another one across the way. Looks like it's part of the Southeast Pacific Union. Oh, we keep on climbing. I still wonder what the heck is that guy doing? I'm just walking, man. I'm just looking. Didn't recognize the flag. I'll figure it out some other time. You can just go on MapQuest, actually, and see this Woodland Drive at Rock Creek Drive. Whew. And I can walk it out. Get some exercise before picking up my wife from work later. So I have been freed from wage slavery, is the way I look at it. It's a gift. And when it happened, I was like, when Dad died April 7th of 2024, I had thought about this long before he died. I wanted to curate his legacy and make sure that it didn't get lost. So I'm doing that. I founded a legitimate LLC based here in Washington. It's called the Harold B. Gill Foundation. And it preserves creative work of the Harold B. Gills. all three of us. Me, my father, main focus, my father. And then now it's becoming more about me. And then my grandfather, Harold B. Gill Sr. Now, most of you do not know him. He was a very private man, as my father pointed out in the research he gave to the Orange County Historical Society for an article on my grandfather's business, the Gill Electric Company. But yeah, the basic technology of a handheld hair dryer was used by my grandfather to build space heaters. They were heavy. They were not handhelds, but it was exactly the same principle. Blow air over some heated coils, and you have a heater and produce a lot of hot air. He developed an electric steam accumulator. I've talked about that in other segments of the passing show, but might as well now. This came about because one of the dairy ranchers nearby had a coal-fired steam accumulator used to clean the dairy equipment, as required by the USDA. So, the thing was, this coal-fired one was dirty and heavy and just unwieldy. So, looking at that problem our friend had, who came by the hardware store or the electric company offices, said, I'll build an electric one. It's not going to have that problem. And ended up selling a lot of them to Cuba before the revolution came. I got into business. And then there were some other things. He was an inventor. In fact, one of the nice little stories I've got in recent times of how the ripple effects go out from something like my very quiet, humble grandfather at Gill Electric Company was played out in Colonial Williamsburg at the gunsmith shop. I just happened by. I was heading over to pick up my mother and take her to 2nd Street for lunch. She likes to do that from her senior living facility where she is now in cognitive decline, sadly, but gently. She's becoming best version of herself, I think, at this point. I was really pleased to see that because she has been awfully demanding and kind of difficult. But recently there's been a shift to just pure gratitude and being in the moment. Well, I'm killing time before going over and getting Mom. Could take her out to 2nd Street and get her some lunch. She loves the citrus syrup grilled salmon. And I stopped by the gunsmith shop. So I went down the street and doing some of the passing show or whatever. And it was just right time, right place in the back room while Sully was out on the floor giving the interpretation of the gunsmith shop. There's George Suter, a retired gunsmith. When I was there, he would have been a journeyman. I think he eventually became the master of the shop before Sully took over from him. And yeah, I'm not going down those steps. Too buggy. But George says, I was thinking about your dad just the other day. I was using an electric hacksaw, kind of Rube Goldberg kind of affair that had an electric motor that just moved the hacksaw blade back and forth so you don't have to. He gave it to me. And I was thinking about that, thinking about him. And I said, I bet that's a Gill Electric Company original. Sounds like something my grandfather would have invented around about 1940s, early 50s, or into the late 50s, really. He eventually retired around the late 50s, early 60s because, well, there were bigger electric companies that were cutting into his business. They were making it difficult. So he just folded up shop, did a little tinkering, but otherwise, Gill Electric Company was no more and did not get continued. by my father, as I think he had in mind might happen. But, being a small business is tough, especially when you're cutting into the margins of the big boys. And that's what happened to him. You can read all about it at the Orange Historical Society. I think this article came out in like 2017. And I didn't even remember it, but luckily I found it among my father's effects in the study. And I have transcribed it back into Harrowings. Behind the paywall, probably. You can get the preview. And anyway, Harold's was first one. Not fond of doctors. He said, you take your car to a mechanic, they're going to find something wrong with it. So he didn't go to doctors. My father said he never went to a doctor in his life. And man smoked. Oh my God, he smoked. He liked to tear the filters off of Raleigh cigarettes. Raleigh's came with coupons, so being thrifty people smoke those, but with no filters, it'll do some damage to your lungs. We spent the last week of my grandfather's life with him, my father and I, thank God, in which we were shuttling back and forth to Mary Washington Hospital in Fredericksburg, where my grandmother, Catherine Elizabeth Jane, was having her eyes worked on, getting cataracts done. I was in touch with her daughter, 95 years old as of July 15th. That was a week ago yesterday. No, less than a week ago. And she wrote back saying she'll write back more later, but she has a hard time seeing, as was the case when I visited her October 3rd of 2024. My cousin Jim, her son, and Kara came over. My cousin Jim runs Jefferson Coin in Charlottesville. If you get a chance to go down there, it's on Route 29, just north of the city. And one of your best bets for gold and silver coins and such, bullion, whatever, investment grade stuff. My cousin Jim, God bless him, and his family, including his sons, are the closest thing I've got to living relatives. Hope that we can stay in touch. I got to go down there, apparently. I wrote them a mail and forwarded the mail that I had sent to Wilma, my father's sister. One of the sad things about all that, we are on 30th Street, and I promise you all, look at this property. Look at those cameras looking at me. Surveillance cameras at the corners. There's one there. I don't know if it's turned on or not. Let's see if I'm in the right block. Wait a second. I don't know. It's a big building back in there. 30th Street Northwest. If I walk this way, let's see where we end up. I think this is Zuckerberg's house, or close to it, or somewhere nearby. He bought a place just recently. At the same time, RFK bought a place on O Street. I understand his wife, Cheryl Hines, I think her name is, demanded that she be moved to D.C. Got to keep an eye on Robert, so he doesn't get up to things he ought not get up to. I understand that. Our wives keep us straight. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is it at all. A little confused about where I am. So this road is what? Cleveland Street. My cousin Rhonda and her husband Henry had a place on Cleveland. But this is 30th. Now that's not right. I'll walk back down Cleveland. Back down 30th, maybe? Yeah, let's go this way. Well, that was there. Definitely not the one I thought it was. We'll see where we come out on the other side here, because this doesn't feel quite right. Let's see, Cleveland, Massachusetts. Wait a minute. Wait, a tick? Woodland? I'm confused. I get so confused. Even in my own neighborhood, I know where Cleveland is, but still. Woodland, 30th. I want to keep on down 30th. I want to go up. Woodland. I don't know. I want to get back to Massachusetts, I think. I could look at the map. Wow. What was I talking about? Well, one of the sad things as I was hitting Pond when I got to this corner was after my grandmother died, the family was assembled, and it was obvious we were going to have to do something about the estate. There's contention around it. Unnecessary, I thought. And it made me sad. And a big sad about that. Let's keep on climbing. Yeah, it's pretty up here. That's some embassy. Finland. Residence. The Finnish ambassador lives there, if you need to know. Okay. So there was a falling out between Wilma and Dad. They didn't speak for years. Aunt Jane died. She had polio. She had some sort of intestinal blockage. Probably colon cancer. I don't know. Anyway, she got sepsis. She died before Dad could be there. Didn't know how sick she was. And, it's just kind of heartbreaking how these things happen to these fine people. Oh my goodness. This is quite the climb. 31st Street, okay. I have to take my time on this one. So, they eventually reconciled. Wilma called Dad on his birthday. They talked. Got to the point where they would visit each other. And my father went up to the mountains. I found the guest book from the mountain house in Amherst, 821 Grants Hollow Road. Wilma and her husband there at the top of the list. Evelyn, Curtis's Doris, Basil's wife. Those are my father's uncles, my grandfather's brothers. Look at that house. Talk about stone. Oh my. Yep. Keep on climbing. Keep on climbing. That's glorious. Ceasefire. I'm calling for a ceasefire at this house. I hope you all are listening. It might be firing. Ceasefire. Da-da-da-da. 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 Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. I think that might be ceasefire. A standard call in pipes and drums, as I am a fifer, amplifying the noise through cyberspace. Nice steps going up. Not exactly ADA accessible. But, I had probably grandfathered in, as would be any of these fine homes. Wow, man. It is some exercise climbing up and down the hills on Woodland Drive in my neighborhood. And it's hot. Beating down on my black shirt. It says music is our friend on the back of it. The King Crimson 2021 tour shirt. Oh, I was talking about that earlier too. I do talk when I've got enough air in my lungs. Thompson Circle. I wonder if that's named after my brother-in-law's family. Joe Thompson. Joe was a sailor. Almost made the Olympics. I mean, almost making the Olympics is like not making the Olympics. Anyhow, he was a sailor of Olympic quality. And related to the DuPonts somehow. And Joe has his parents too. Trust fund babies. They had silver spoons. Still, the exit's tragic. His mother lived her last days with a broken back. Took a while to pass. His father cried every day, apparently, over that. Blind. But I guess he settled in before he shuffled off the mortal coil. I didn't go to their funerals. Maybe that's one reason they don't like me much. But I didn't feel very close. Like my father and his sister, who survives him, and who was able to be at his bedside when he died. I don't feel particularly close to my sister, though I think she probably would make the effort. She does the right things, you know. She wanted to come to my mother-in-law's funeral and let us know that when it was going on, because we didn't waste any time getting Evelyn sent off with her scroll and tucked into her hand to introduce her to heaven, because I gotta love that ceremony, and I love that we did right by her to the best of our ability, short of taking her in and having her live with us, which I think she would have preferred. But she did the right thing and got herself into Barnes. And it became apparent she could no longer live in her house that she had been in since before Lynn was born. 1963, that house built in the 1890s, I think, sold to the hospital directly across the street where Lynn had been born. Mother just walked across the street when it came time, delivered Lynn on September 20th, 1967. First baby after many miscarriages. And best thing that's ever happened in my life, I'll tell you what. Hats off to Evelyn and to George W. Bush, who I never met, who also passed away in 2005, the age of 80 plus. His wife was even older. 32nd Street, or on Woodland, or if we go 32nd, go downhill, we're going to end up. I don't know. I'm going to walk down here and see. I don't think I want to continue on Woodland. I think it's going to be a big loop. I don't want to go to Cleveland. Maybe I do. So let's go to Cleveland. Let's go uphill. Let's see what happens. So. Cement helps with the drainage, I'm sure. Physical comedy. Still got that. Still got it. I'm thinking of them and Imogen Heat now. Still on about the day it will happen. Okay. Hopefully no boxwoods were injured. Shrubbery. I ended up in the shrubbery. I'm obviously tired. Garfield. Okay, I know where I am. I don't think it matters. There's a couple of different options at Garfield. Do you not want to walk on Cleveland? You go back up towards the cathedral, or I could go back towards Connecticut. Oh, let's go to the cathedral. Let's all go to the cathedral. Not the lobby. Walking. Think I'm going that direction. I don't know. Get confused. I'm hoping it's halfway to the cathedral. I think that might be the way to the cathedral. Dang it. Garfield. Which side am I on? Looks like it. Which side am I on? Well, that's something that, in Grok 4 analyzed the author of Harrowings, which I had it do Saturday morning, just for fun, or maybe it was Friday night. It said that I was apolitical. What side are you on? I'm on nobody's side and everybody's side. Nobody and everybody. Mainly nobody. Because nobody should have that much power over us and our ways of being. More fun than a body ought to be allowed to have. I don't know if you're having a good time, but I sure am. And that's really what matters. That's Cleveland. I don't know. Garfield. I could see an intersection up there. I think it might be with Wisconsin. If that's the case, we're going to come out near the cathedral. Otherwise, we're going over towards Connecticut. And that's fine too, which I think is more likely at this point, considering there's woodland over there, which we just got off of. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's been a good walk there. What time is it? It is 12:46. I would normally be in a little gathering called Key West Noon, a 12-step group coming out of the Anchors Away Club down in Key West, Florida during the pandemic. It is still going, and you should find about 80 or so people seeking recovery there. I don't think it's really easy to find recovery in 12-step meetings. It is easy to find in the website for the original 12-step program. And I would trust that. I would not trust the people. Because when it comes down to it, most people are, like me, often wrong, frequently wrong, and often don't know it. I love zinnias. My mother used to raise these alongside the corn in the garden, and my childhood comes back to me then when I see those. And of course, the upsides and downsides. My sister and I were reading Sybil during, like, my sister's like 10 or 11. I'm about 8 or 9, 7 or 8. And it's like a horror story. And I think, get you, Flying Nun, Sally Fields. You really like me. I used to say that sometimes at particular moments. I won't go into that right now. Feel like Sally Fields at the Oscars. You really like me. Anyway, yeah, Sybil was all about how this woman was so cruel to her daughter and visited so much trauma onto her that she developed multi-personality syndrome that then had to be carefully stitched back together through therapy. But oh my God, right? Isn't that just the way? Mm. Garfield and 34th Street. Keep on going. I think I might be actually heading towards the cathedral after all. Hello. Anisha. Yeah, my sister really identified. Poor thing. I really feel for my sister. And her raising at the hands of my poor mother, who was only 21. Melissa was born just beyond her 21st birthday. Her first wedding anniversary, she brings home this colicky baby. No idea how to do anything. And I found it. There's the National Cathedral, Washington National Cathedral. Wonderful. Crossing against the light. St. Albans School. And I'm going to try to keep my feet under me this time. So, the pratfall back there is still with me. Anyhow, getting back to the stories. How Zinnias have brought back Sybil, brought back kind of Mitleid. Mitleid, compassion. That's a German word for it. It's to suffer with someone. And I did suffer with my sister. And I was probably the source of my sister's suffering. I came along later, and I was Little Prince, right? I was Harold Jonathan. Johnny Undershirt, she used to call me. Because my undershirt was perpetually out. I could not keep it tucked in. It saved my life. But it is what it is. And we do the best we can with what we have. And practice of forgiveness. Like I was talking about Colossians, the reading of my wedding, where I knew I'd need forgiveness. Now a lot of my marriage is based on forgiveness. We forgive each other our shortcomings. And we try our best to be better people and not to repeat injuries unless we feel like we want to. When I'm laughing there, I'm laughing with my inner self and that aspect of me that is compassionate. Because honestly, sometimes we can be so cruel to each other as human beings. And, Mitch Horowitz says this so beautifully. I really can't even do it justice. He says, disassociate yourself from cruel people. There's no need for that. And if they'll do it once, they will do it again. I am not averse to separating myself permanently and finally from individuals who have offered me offense. And then sometimes I just forgive them. I let them know they've been forgiven. I also let them know that I'm making a choice. I'm making a very deliberate choice because I am aware of what my capabilities are. I'm aware of what anybody's capabilities are. And if you want to know what people's capabilities are, just read the news. Because there's an awful lot of examples of people who had enough and decided to do something besides forgive. I will recommend forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean staying. I wrote a fairly long essay about that recently, starting with Love Forgives Everything, John Perry Barlow's TED Talk from some years ago, because John's been gone since like 2018, I think. Died at the age of 70, taken too soon. But his body had had a lot happen to it before he shuffled off the mortal coil. We also lost his daughter. I planted a grove of 100 trees in her memory, I think. I do that. So if you're looking for things you can do, plant a grove of trees. Look at the National Arbor Day Foundation and plant a grove of trees in a place that needs to be reforested. Be the change you want to see in the world, because God knows, hardly anybody is the change they want to see in the world. Is that 34th Street? I'm going to go down there. This is Fulton. I think I'm not too far from the Congregationalist Church. We had a Saturday thing going on there. Probably still do. But because I'm not going there, haven't gone there for a while, largely because of an individual that was cruel to me once, unbidden and unaccountably. They tried to say something nice about it afterwards. They didn't mean it. But I'm sorry. You can trip a wire, and then the bomb goes off. Hello, Robin. Robin is paying attention to me. You know, it won't be long before you won't be able to trust whether that's a robin or that's a drone. I don't know. Hello, Robin. Go on, do your business. Look at these houses. Look at these places. That's so nice. Okay, this is Fulton and 34th Street Northwest. And I want to turn, I believe, to the Attaway to Garfield Fulton. As are two-syllable words, GFE, should come up. Looks like Fulton goes down into the park. That's not where I want to go. I want to go by the Congregationalist Church if I can. Maybe it's behind me. It probably is. It's probably up on the next corner. Garfield and Lowell. It's way up there. Lowell Street. So I don't go there on Saturdays any longer, but some people do, seeking recovery. They read from the basic text from 1939. It's been updated as recently as 2001. What do I want to say about that? Not much. Just that it's there. Possible resource, but not one I want to avail myself of these days. Largely because of the cruelty and the kind of missingness of the point of practice of principle. Forgiveness is one, but forgiveness does not mean staying. I was talking about John Perry Barlow. I was talking about that essay I wrote. I was talking about, if you're wounded wittingly or unwittingly by someone, particularly if it's kind of unwitting, and somehow that's worse because it shows that they don't have enough regard really to realize it. There's a line in another of my essays on Michael Chabon's Wonder Boys because he showed up in Substack and I wrote the essay. Riffing off of that, his presence. Here we are in Norway. I think I will slalom in and out of Norway. That's as close as skiing in Norway I'm going to get. Anyway, I think that may be the Vatican. Their bench is being pulled back. Spaghetti. Anyhow, as we move, there's the residence of J.D. Vance, U.S. Naval Observatory. Vice President, what's up there? That is the Vatican Embassy. I hear a hawk nearby. Let's try. Let's see it. There it is again. Hawk or falcon, some bird of prey. And yeah, so I was talking about Michael Chabon Wonder Boys. There's a line in the tune for which Bob Dylan won an Oscar in 2001. I think he received it. I heard easy, but I just don't show it. You can hurt in it, someone not even know it. The next 60 seconds can be like an eternity. The next 60 seconds can be like an eternity. Can you imagine the 60 seconds at the hands of a priest? If you're at the hands of an abusive priest, that would seem like an eternity. There used to be a guy who protested out here often about that. I understand that the new Pope, Leo, is kind of quiet on the subject. I think we need to call him out, folks. Get him to take personal responsibility for that for which he is personally responsible. I was raised in Catholic school and did not suffer anything at the hands of any priest personally, but I do not doubt that it does happen. Here we are past the Finnish ambassador's residence, and this is where he works, the embassy of Finland, and they have a free library where I picked up a book about LBJ's cabinet, including Bill Moyers. I think it might have been by Bill Moyers. I don't remember. We just lost Bill recently. Patricia Cornwell. It's in Finnish. Patricia Cornwell has been translated. She's a pathologist, like a medical examiner, ME, if I'm not mistaken, in Richmond, Virginia. And she wrote a book about Parkway murders that happened when I was a young man. If you don't know about the Parkway murders, look it up. I mean, man, terror. That's what we lived in. I may have even had a close encounter. I don't know. But peace, forget it. I mean, I have to sort of block that out of my memory to some extent. I should write about it, though, because the Parkway murders are something else. And Patricia Cornwell, I think That Which Remains is the name of it. My father was reading that when he very graciously arranged for my then wife and me to go to London. We realized some of my then wife's dreams there, including going out to see Phantom at Her Majesty's Theatre, Piccadilly. Yeah. And I remember sitting there feeling like I was the Phantom in my own marriage. That's horrible. In so many ways, to have that awareness of a marriage that is falling apart in front of you. I didn't realize until just recently, I'm writing about it, what had happened. I pieced it together on my own, but I'm probably projecting, but, very well may be true. I had actually not objected in the least, not that it would have mattered. When my ex got a communication from her ex-boyfriend from high school, and this is before the days of the internet when you could Google people, stalk them like that. So I thought, okay, well, he wants to be in touch. I have no reason to think that my wife would not be as committed to our marriage as I was. And I had no problem talking to people from my past, though my wife didn't let me. She probably understood better than I did that she had problems with that. She had problems with my female friends, and particularly those with whom I might have slept at one time. Can't believe I said that. Anyhow, I was more confident and less wise. I don't know what to call it. And I did not dissuade her, did not pry into their communications. But when I went for my interviews at Pitt after putting her through school to get her certification, which she's just completed, when we went off to London, my father was reading That Which Remains as his entertainment as we toured around together and apart. Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. I should have realized what was happening then. When she went off after we got back from London to take up a job near her hometown of Waterford, Pennsylvania, living with her recently widowed grandmother, that made a lot of sense. Saving up money, which didn't actually seem to get saved up to put me through school, but I applied to different positions and was accepted. And when I went up for my interviews at Pitt, I found out she was thinking of divorcing me, and I was devastated. It wasn't immediate. It took her some time to make her decision. Well, she didn't let me in on it before it happened. Gave me some time to prepare, maybe some time to make my exit. Did an interview with a lawyer. It was basically like, well, just fuck all you can do about it. And just really sad for you, but there you go. And there I went. Man, that was hard. I'm telling you, when you're young and you don't know a lot about life, you have those events that teach you a lot. Everything happens for me, not to me. I have to look at it that way to survive it, to survive that depth of betrayal. It felt like she had to make choices for herself. She's a young woman. She looked at me. She looked to him. She thought about who she wanted to have kids with. We were starting to think about that. We actually made some attempts. I had not gotten her pregnant. I don't think. No, her daughter came along well after. Better check that. But anyway, um, yeah, that guy left her. And as far as I know, she is on her fourth husband now. As I sort of predicted when we were married, I was her second, God sakes. She's only 25 when we married. So go figure. It is what it is. Adventures. I don't even relate to the person it was back then much. Thinking about it as I walk, I think I go touring through my entire biography. My life flashes before my eyes. Thistles beginning to bloom. Symbol of Scotland. And we are right by the vice president's residence up there on the hill and the embassy of Great Britain. Coming on down past the Khalil Gibran monument or memorial. We've already looked at the one Lebanon earlier in this edition of the Passing Show. And we continue. Only had 18 others peek in since I began, but it is a rather long bit of film. It's sort of been a long walk. Started out on that street, went up there past 23rd, talking about this and that, the other thing, thinking about wings of desire, about being an angel, observing the worlds. Here I've gone into my own inner worlds. And if you watch the sequel to Wings of Desire, Far Away So Close it's called, you'll see there that Cassiel looks into the minds of people and goes into their past and lives through their past. I don't think much of that happens in Wings of Desire. I'll have to watch the film again to see. But both of these films by Wim Wenders, particularly poetic meditations on the world as it is. I think Far Away So Close takes it in different directions, but kind of like unsatisfying when all is said and done. But there are really great moments in both films, including Far Away So Close opening up with Mikhail Gorbachev signing papers that bring down the Berlin Wall and result in the reunification of Germany. And give peace a chance. What a human being. We've lost him now to eternity, but the effects go on. Now, Russia, the way it's painted in the media is not the truth. But there's a lot of things that are true. I mean, I do not think that Putin is a great man. I do not think Trump is a great man. I do not think anybody is a great man. I think we're men. I think we make choices and calculated ones, and sometimes they're very dangerous ones. Sometimes they're psychotic. Khalil Gibran could talk to you about that. Winston Churchill could talk to you about that. He's over there holding up two fingers for victory. Churchill was here in D.C. in Christmas 1941, working with Roosevelt on the plans, probably for North Africa first and foremost. Defending British holdings, Suez Canal. He attended church services and heard "Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem" the first time at Foundry United Methodist Church, where my pastor currently holds forth, entering her 12th year. This is Nelson Mandela. Nelson, in 1985, I was wearing a free Nelson Mandela pen. I was part of Amnesty International. 1985, I traveled to the Southeast Regional Conference of Amnesty in New Orleans. Met a young lady who had been imprisoned in Poland, part of Solidarity. Was very impressed. There's the Embassy of Brazil, Embassy of Bolivia. I can't remember what this was. It's beautiful. Check out the Brazilian embassy, eh? Somewhere back there. Sorry, past it, probably. No, maybe not. Let's see. Let's see what I've done. Coming up on the bridge. Yeah. Oh, long walk. Oh. Should pay attention where I am. Oh, exhausting. Hey. Little free library provided by the Romanians of DC, just like mine. It's D&D. I thought the Romanians might be taking over part of this. Maybe it's the Romanian ambassador's house. I don't know. Is there D&D 001? No, 241. My wife and I joke a lot about the Romanian thing because she was there in Romania. Took a private driver to Transylvania. He's had her fun too before I came along, but heartbreaking somehow. Anyhow, we think it's funny that D&D is their diplomatic place. It's Dungeons and Dragons, right? Well, I thought that was fun. I'm being charged. How am I doing on power, I wonder? Oh, there's still got plenty. That's great. And we have had 19 people look in on the passing show. Crepe myrtles and magnolias, Washington, D.C.'s flora. So, now come up on 30th Street. This is the 30th Street spur I was looking for earlier. So I'm going to turn here. I don't know how far up here I'm going to walk because it's tough. It's tough going. Maybe? No. No, it's another part of 30th one here. I think my buddy, the Irish ambassador, no. That's some other ambassador's residence across the way or embassy. Almost looks like the Italian. No, that's not right. It's vertical. I don't know what that is. Let's go see. Something of the European Union, I can tell that much. Gotta be careful. Tripped earlier in this particular episode and did not lose the feed, but man, I landed hard. I think the Siri automatically may have been checking in to see whether I was okay. Don't know. Probably like a little glitch there. Let's see who this is. This is Hungary, the residence of the Hungarian ambassador. So I'm trespassing on Hungarian territory there. I'm going to stay on this side of the street. Don't want to invade anybody else's territory. But just recently, Mark Zuckerberg has bought a place here. I don't know which one it is. I think it's that one. See the roof through the trees. Oh boy. My legs are not up to this. Or maybe they are. I'm going to be doing more of it because ordinarily, as I was mentioning earlier, I would be involved with a Zoom meeting. I'm not. That they're probably carrying on still because they seem to run past the hour a bit. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to spend any more of my time and energy on that. I'm going to spend it with you, the 19 of you who peeked in to see a little bit of the passing show. Yeah, maybe it's not that one. Maybe it's the next one. I'm going to continue to walk down, see what I run into. It's a tough road, man. I don't know. I could make this a really long walk if I'm not careful. So if you are to try to look at any of these places, if you are trying to look at them, just get them. You might find them screened from view. Oh, look at that place. See, nice looking house. Yeah, I think that might be it. That very well might be it. Mark Zuckerberg's new place, or it's next door. It's possible living two. That was one of the gables kind of. Maybe the gables on the other end. Anyway. Go all the way down to Edgevale, passing the embassy of Sri Lanka, ambassador's residence, Sri Lanka residence. Some deities there by the doorway. Lovely. That sounds like somebody's coming out. That's nice. That might have been the ambassador himself. Here's the other place. I don't know which one it is, but I know I bought it just recently. Oh, what am I going to do here? You going to loop? Where does that go? Where does that go? Looks nice. Looks like a nice sidewalk. Let's find out. Sure, I've done this before, but I haven't done it recently because I haven't been exercising as much as I should. And therefore, I'm moving a little bit more weight around than I'd like to be. And that's the way it goes. Kind of like to go across that bridge, but I think I'm going to be going down along the creek if I'm not careful. I'm going to find my way out. But I got time. I'm going to have to pick up the land for a while. This is the residence of the ambassador of the Republic of Guinea. It looks like a British flag flying on this one. So I thought the British ambassador lived in my neighborhood. Maybe this is the British ambassador's residence. It could be. I don't know. 2934, though. Let me tell you, it is hot. And I am going downhill fast. No real plan. Did you get a chance to see a little bit of the Embassy Row? DDF. What is DDF? I don't know. I don't know whose ambassador's house this is. I don't recognize the flag. It's so flat. It's got some sort of symbol on it, though. Dominican Republic. This is the one I keep thinking of. I should be thinking of the other one. It's closer to my place, the actual embassy. This is the Dominican Republic ambassador's house. Very nice. Big. And my shoulder has just got wrenched pretty badly on that fall I made. Again, it's an injured shoulder as it is. And I'm not doing myself any favors if I don't keep my feet under me. It's like Kazakhstan. So, Dominican Republic, Kazakhstan. Makes sense, right? One thing leads to another. And it's so hot. If you're wearing a black King Crimson Tour shirt, it is. Kazakhstani ambassador has a pretty nice situation there, it looks like. Could use a little cleaning of the balustrade over the garages. But, it is what it is. Healing Pain Appreciation Society would like that one. Fire hydrant. Like to watch paint peel. In that group, I don't know how many people are members of it, but hey, there are all kinds of modes of being, folks. Rock Creek Parkway, Normanstone. Oh man, I've got a little bit of walking to do yet to get home. I'm going to try to. I'm really going to run out of power one of these days. I know there's something here. Some piece of artwork, and that has been removed. Piers. Hey, I think I see Massachusetts Avenue up there. It's going to be a little bit of a climb, because I have made a little bit of a descent already. Across the street, get a little closer to nature. Oh man, it's hard. But healthy. Healthy to walk. I could still do it. I'm still walking. So I know that I can dance. Just a saint of circumstance. Yep. My good friend Holly plays that for me on occasion. She thinks I'm a saint of circumstance. That's sweet. It's good to have friends. If all said and done, there's like a Airbnb opportunity out there. Been offered up by Holly's mom. That's so kind. Wendy. I appreciate her so much. And her husband, Gene. He was a delight. It's just delighted to meet both of them. Right the day after, or the day, because in the wee hours of the morning, I had picked up Holly at National Airport after getting out of the fifth row in front of Bob Weir and the Wolf Brothers for the National Symphony Orchestra show at the Kennedy Center. So that was fun. Bob did like a 4 nights and there with the Wolf Brothers in the National Symphony Orchestra. That was the first outing of his orchestral setting of the Wolf Brothers renditions of the Grateful Dead's music. And God bless him. I got very good eye contact to old Bob from my position on the fifth row. BDF 001. Hungarian ambassador just cruised by. I don't know who that is, but, Hungary's got a kind of different angle on things. There, Orban, I think is their prime minister. I don't know. I haven't checked that. But, yep, this is what it is. I'm still walking, so I know that I can dance. That's the line. Gotta dance through creation. The dancer, Shiva, dances us into existence. Kali takes us out. All these Hindu gods and goddesses, all concepts of the human spirit. I am a Gnostic deist, and that I know that gods and goddesses exist as concepts in the mind. Elsewhere, not positive. But I know they're in the mind. I know they have effects. Now, that's Whitehaven. You go up there, Bill and Hillary maintained a residence right across from the Danish embassy. Then there, notice the Danish ambassador, I don't know if he's still the same one, had a really nice Telecaster rig, and he's a Led Zeppelin fan. Who isn't? I know there are people who aren't. I was talking to my friend who runs Tiny Vinyl, and he's not a big Robert Plant fan. He has a newfound respect for Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones, a session man, I think largely, putting words in Ty's mouth, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. Look at the fungus coming out of that tree. It's all recycling, folks. Everything's becoming its opposite. Everything is in a constant state of flow from I to otherwise. It's all grist for the mill. All grist for the mill. Straw for the fire. Straw for the fire. Looking across, I came across the Taft Bridge earlier. Made this cruise just loop through all these neighborhoods. The Rock Creek continues to flow. Flow, river, flow. Let your waters wash down. Take me from this world to some other town. Ballad of Easy Rider came into my life 1983. I was dating Gwendolyn Teresa Sellers for a little bit of time, but she went back with her boyfriend and broke my heart. And I got together with her one time after that and said, I wonder what would have happened. We don't know. But last I heard from Harry, she was in Jacksonville, Florida, doing something like maintaining a hotel or something, motel. I don't know what she was up to. That's some sort of rental manager. I don't know. But God love her. She'd be about my age young. I think she may have been a tad younger. I think she was a Christmas Eve baby, if I remember right. Not sure. But Rania, she's a New Year's Eve baby, wasn't she? Maybe. We went out New Year's Eve for her birthday. And that worked out pretty well, actually, for me. Cared. We did. But worked out well for me because she went with somebody else, more to her taste. And I didn't go well for her long term, but maybe it did. Maybe everything went fine. Maybe everything's just the way it ought to have been. As we have danced our dance through life together. It's the Embassy of Spain's residence, I believe. This is the Islamic Center we're passing now, dedicated by Eisenhower in 1959 to all the different Islamic nations. Peace. Yeah, definitely worked with all of them at one time or another in either positive or negative ways. And you have to keep that in mind. Everybody's got a history. Just down there is the Embassy of Japan. Speaking of history, we're coming up on the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What did we know and when did we know it? I'm turned up towards the Obama residence on Belmont. And I'm going to turn on Tracy Place because you cannot walk up Belmont without clearance to do so. Everything's locked down. We're going to cross over here, and what's ironical, this is the Russian Naval Armed Forces attaché. "2552 Belmont. Office of Defense, Military, and Air Naval Attaches of the Russia. Secret Service in place. Changing the guards, perhaps. Walk on.
We will take your picture.
It is tough, man. Passing by the embassy of Guyana. Oof. Doing something to that house. Right around in here. Ivanka and Jared had their houses during the first Trump administration. I haven't heard much about them since this new administration. I guess they're not so involved. I get into the shade. Yeah, on Wyoming Street. Take that way. Colorama. Terrible fire on, I think, a house down there recently. Really burned it up. It's tragic. Anyhow, I'm going to keep on Wyoming in the shade for a time. And breathe. And walk. Uphill. Both ways. The house there, old widow's walk on top, in red brick, was the home of Chris Wallace. It may still be. I don't know. I think I heard he moved. Gave it up. Mike Wallace, his father, had some great interviews. One with Aldous Huxley, which is so worth revisiting. You know, Huxley died the day Kennedy was assassinated. Same day as C.S. Lewis. Synchronicity? I don't know. Just keep on moving. Their charging station for their electric cars. And we keep on walking. 2424 Wyoming. I'm exhausted. This has been quite enough exercise for one day. I'm going to check my steps soon. See Embassy of Austria. Good friends living in Salzburg. Put me up in Munich in 2003. Talked about that the other day. Probably watched Wings of Desire for the first time with her, the female part of that couple. Her husband Armin wasn't in the picture yet, but he is now the director of the Mozarteum. Last I checked, I don't know if he's retired. Guess he could get to that point. But why would he? Why would you ever retire from a job like that? It is so wonderful. They adopted a Colombian foundling and have been raising Alejandro, a young man. He's probably getting ready to be in the university if he's not already in it or through it. It's been that long. You know, you maintain these relationships over time. That's the former embassy of Afghanistan over there. Maybe the residents, I don't know. But it's pretty abandoned. I'm at 24th Street, so I'm going to keep on Wyoming for a few more blocks. I could go down to S, but it's quite a climb. I seem to be at a higher altitude right now. I don't really have to climb a lot more. Just this gentle slope will do. What else do I want to tell you all about? What else have I got here? Still at like 21 other people I've looked in. If anybody has stayed from the beginning, you're a trooper. If you haven't, that's quite understandable because there's no real plot here. This is just a passing show as I see it. I'm just walking to get some exercise on this fine July day in Washington, D.C. It's cooler than it's been. Somewhere in the 80s. Probably feels like it's in the 90s. But it's all good. And I'm still breathing. And the legs are still going. Those muscle groups that keep my arms swinging and keep me focused on these lovely pieces of architecture, residential ambassadors' homes and others. Yeah, we are lucky to live here. As was Howard Taft, William Howard Taft, Supreme Court Chief Justice, lived in the house I'm approaching now. It's going to run down. I don't know who owns it, but it's not in good shape. But Taft was there after his presidency while he was Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice. Whew. And here, this is Zambia, right? Tell me there. One Zambia, one nation. There's a flag, one entrance there. I am in Zambian territory for the moment. Coming back down the sidewalk, leaving Zambia, re-entering the United States. Don't even need a passport. Look at the architecture on that place. We looked at that earlier because I came along here and walked up there, made my way to the bridge. Oh, yeah. Somebody's alarm going off. Military attaché of Poland. Very close by. Whose car? Oh, Polish car. EQW. Some diplomat's car. Alarming. Not my fault. Yeah, it's probably Poland because there's another Polish embassy car there. Hybrid. It's a Highlander. Nice looking. Yeah. Platinum Highlander. And they've got a Suburban. They've got a 530i. The Polish people have some good stuff there. Like I was saying earlier, when I was at the Amnesty International Conference in 1985, Southeast Regional Conference in New Orleans, one of our speakers was a young Polish woman from Solidarity. Letter writing campaigns had gotten her released. And she was advocating for us to continue Amnesty's good work to help political prisoners of all sorts. Office of Educational Affairs of the Royal Thai Embassy is across the street. My wife really likes these places with their little entrances. And there's the Embassy of Zalzneria. Mr. Zalzner, who owned that house, declared it the Embassy of Zalzneria. I don't know if that worked to his advantage for tax purposes or what. I don't really care. 23rd Street. Oh, I definitely have some uphill work to do, and I'm trying to figure out whether I should turn on California. I guess so, because after all, I worked up. I have not walked this section. I have not surveilled it, as I tend to do. Big apartment buildings or condo buildings. This is the William Penn, if I believe. Gotta image of Penn there. And we're not far from the Friends Meeting House, actually, speaking of Quakers, like William Penn at Pennsylvania. They're leasing. Across the way, there's 2230. A lot of big old apartment buildings. And some of them breaking up into condos and buy them. Lots of people live near me. I always forget that. They call us Doga. Presidential Heating and Air Conditioning Incorporated. Oh my gosh, my legs are hurting. There's the church. Our Lady, the Queen of Americas. Catholic Church. And Phelps. And that's exactly where I need to go. My legs are so exhausted. Hey. Okay. Up. So if you've gotten a little bit of the taste of the passing show, wonderful. Keep on being the change you want to see in the world. Remember, every cent we spend is a vote. The kind of world we are creating together. And do not hurt anyone if you can avoid it. And if you do, repair the damage. Don't just say you're sorry. Apologies mean nothing after the damage is done. But have compassion. Realize that people would do better if they knew better. They don't know better. They have a difficult time doing better, except by accident. It's the Russian Cultural Center across the way. We read all about that in one of our other editions of the passing show. I'm doing my best to be more present in the world, be more available. And we'll be talking with a young lady tomorrow. Looking forward to that. 10 o'clock in the morning. Tune in. I don't know if we'll do the 12 o'clock thing with Sunny live again, we did last week. And I was so pitchy. I don't like my voice. I'm going to talk to her about that. So maybe we'll actually talk out loud about that in public. And we can find out what kind of tips and tricks or what kind of abilities that Sunny is comfortable sharing with us. I do not want to put her on the spot. And of course, heavy surveillance equipment there. They're enmeshed with spider webs. Yeah. Here's what it is. I think this place was for sale recently, if I'm not mistaken. But I said, yeah, there it is. There's a sales sign for it. Coldwell Banker. So if you want to get the residence, it's right between on 1823 Phelps Place, right between Bancroft and Phelps. There it is. Gorgeous looking building. Does look like it has some erosion on its copper. But, whatever. I wouldn't sneeze at that one. Okay, so you have a choice here, Hal. Let's go down and take in the passing show of the construction going on right behind your place, because if you walk in and the power is off, it's not going to be fun. Could happen. They've been doing a lot of work around here, and they've got a problem down at the 22nd Street substation that's causing, they say, through the end of the month, disruptions to our power. Happened yesterday, happened Thursday morning. Apparently happened Friday and Saturday too. I didn't notice so much for us, but other residences were without power as they were cutting it off to avoid further damage to the grid. And we got to do better, folks. I think I might have to get myself a generator. My father had one. Damn it. Oh, it's gone. There's so many things that are just gone. Right? Anyway, everything is in the process of being here and not here. Everything emerging. And oh my God, it's a beautiful set of buildings. Look at the porches, doorways, architecture. Oops, do not fall down into the plantings again or worse. And a lot of work going on in the heat of the summer. I don't know what all. Gorgeous, gorgeous little house here in Fountain. There we go. Part of the preservation easement. So these structures back of mine. Look at that one. Stained glass, architectural details on that building, eh? Yeah. Eh? Come on. There we go. Yep. That's pretty amazing. So I took the time and energy to build that there. Nobody can really see it to speak of. That pipe's being manipulated. We've had a lot of problems with water. I'm hoping that we have water. That'd be good. There's the Embassy of Argentina's military attache's office parking only. You can watch those guys work. John Deere. Caution. I have fear that I may not have water. This is not the first time they've dug this up. I'm going to have to figure out an alternate route home. This is normally my way of getting in. But actually, I can cross here on Florida. We'll come up 20th, cross Florida, and then just come on down. It's torn up some of our nice bricked alleyway. The bricking is not that old. There's patchy asphalt here and there. Pesha is happy hour every day, 4 to 6. And if you don't like Pesha, you can try McClellan's Retreat. McClellan's Retreat. Get your retreat wear here. And they are Ally. Here we have Embassy of Moldova. Once again, the Embassy of Moldovan's ambassador's car, TCE 001, across the way. The Albanians. And oh my God, am I tired? They're going to get in and charge up. I mean, it might just keep on running, because I don't have to stop just because I go inside. Although it will switch to my wireless and channel our signal through that way. Hey, we've got a robin. Like I say, I'm not sure that robins aren't drones, but eventually won't be able to distinguish them. Where's my robin? Where did he go? He must have flown up in a tree. I don't know. I don't know. I don't mind. Yeah, we'll go unstable for a minute here for sure. Or more as the wireless takes over. So if you've been with us, thank you. If you're just joining, passing show, going into the bunker. Included. That was given to my father by Wallace Gusler, the master gunsmith and curator of furniture and later director of conservation, then master gunsmith again, before retiring from Colonial Williamsburg. But if you see the film, The Gunsmithing of Williamsburg, that's him. And he gave my father that sword. That's an 18th century sword. And it was given to my father for his generosity of spirit in seeing Wallace through the trauma of his divorce from Georgia. His wife, his three of his kids. So we do kindness here. We do kindness here. And if I allow you access to me, do not treat me unkindly. My father was very kind. There he is with me, sitting in the Piney River near Hog Camp. His grandfather, I should say, sitting getting ready to go fishing, not far from where that picture was taken many years later. My grandfather died January 23rd, 1961. My great-grandfather, I should say. My father's grandfather. My father would go on till April 7th, 2024. He knew my grandfather's father, my grandfather's grandfather, this man's father. And, that's a pretty amazing legacy. My father's great-grandfather, William Samuel Gill, Charles Clinton Gill's father, my great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, William Samuel, was the grandson of a Revolutionary War veteran. So we're that close. We're not far from each other. Hammer in hand. Over there's also early American wrought iron. And another book, some artifact studies. And still another pattern book. I've got so much. I've shored these fragments against my ruins. A balalaika from grandmother. I don't know how far back that goes. There's a bronze Mercury fountain, Mercury sculpture, after the one in the rotunda of the National Gallery of Art. That was the bronze wedding anniversary for my wife and I. Behind that, Brighton Pavilion. I was talking about Dad and reading What Remains in London. He took us down to Brighton Pavilion where I got that print. It's now framed there. He had framed pictures of the dining room and another space in the Brighton Pavilion. They went with my ex-wife. Is what it is. I've also done some paintings myself. There's one I'm in the window next to the great books, Thomas Aquinas, Augustine, Petrarch, and of course there's another one of my paintings. This one I did in 1994 in the place I kept at Neville Street in Pittsburgh. So we're just roving around a little bit, talking and unwinding from a long march. A little exercise for remnants. Svinberg, near the palace. Pipe tamper that he gave to my father. The dolphin pipe tamper. Engage engine my father gave me when I was about 10, maybe there around. One of my father's toys from when he was a child. Angels. Timeless Muka. Yeah, so richness of being. My wife enjoys pottery, tiles, and gotta love her. I think she really likes that one back there, this wood framed. I got that for her. This bowl I got for her mother and gave it to her mother from the Carnegie Museum of Art. And my wife was livid. She was like, "You got her that? It's mine. That's my colors." It's like, look, you're going to get it eventually anyway. These I got at the Venice Biennale. Is it going to show them? Yeah, there they are. Paperweights. I give them to my folks. I salvaged them now that my mother's gone into retirement home. And, the happiest day of my life. There's my mother-in-law giving away my wife. My Uncle Ed in the background. My cousin David, I think, is behind him. And there I am. The happiest day of my life by the Tabard Inn. Thank God. Thank God for that woman. She has made my life so good. And so I'm going to wrap this. I'm tired of talking. I've been talking since I started walking. And it's almost 2:00, and I need to rest. Thanks for joining, and out here, live from the bunker.